Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Alan's Card Game Den, which is definitely a very original name for a show about games. This is a show where we'll discuss card games, primarily trading card games, from the perspective of someone who's primarily a collector and a very casual player. So don't expect deep analyses of game metas or specific cards, but rather a more general overview of a game, some thoughts on basic non-competitive gameplay, and the types of products you could buy for it. Almost everything we'll cover on this show will also be a defunct card game. In other words, a game that is no longer being actively produced and sold. Because this is the first episode, I wanted to start with a definition of trading card game, just so we're on the same page. A trading card game, to me, is a game where you can purchase multiple cards for the game in various ways, exchange them or trade them with other players, and build a customized deck to play the game. This does not include games that would be classified more as board games, so things like Dominion or Aeon's End, where the cards are basically fixed and you're building a deck from a central supply. With that out of the way, we're going to channel Gene Roddenberry today, and much like he started out Star Trek The Next Generation with The Naked Now, an episode where the characters were acting very unlike themselves, we're going to start today with a game that is a trading card game only in the most technical sense, and that is the Tribbles Customizable Card Game. Tribbles was published in the year 2000 by Decipher as a spin-off from the first edition of the Star Trek Customizable Card Game. Decipher apparently really likes calling their games customizable card games. It's available primarily in this 4-player starter box, but you can find additional cards for the game in booster packs for the Star Trek card game, in one expansion called The Trouble of Tribbles, and nowhere else. Which makes this a game that you'd never really collect on its own. Instead, you'd be collecting Star Trek First Edition cards, probably playing that game, and getting Tribbles cards only incidentally. So in that sense, it's only technically a trading card game. You can trade for cards and build a customized deck, but you're almost certainly not going to be buying anything solely for the sake of this game. As a side note, I am aware that the Continuing Committee continues to produce cards for this game, but in this show we're only covering cards that were physically released and sold by publishers. The game had one type of card, Tribbles. They come in denominations from 1 to 100,000, in multiples of 10, and each has an ability. One thing I do want to note is that the cards in the starter box do not have gameplay text for the Star Trek card game. Instead, they contain trivia about various Tribbles episodes in Star Trek, and a colored square identifying which deck in the starter box the card belongs to. Cards you get from Star Trek card game products will include gameplay text, and an icon indicating the set, which is just the Trouble with Tribbles set. So they're not exactly the same, but they'll work exactly the same for purposes of the Tribbles card game. The game is basically played like Uno. You'll have your own deck of cards, and a hand of 7 cards, and you'll go around the table playing Tribbles, starting with 1, then 10, then 100, then 1,000, all the way up to 100,000, or, in the starter set, 10,000, which we'll get to in a moment. If you cannot play a card, you draw a card, and if that card is playable, you play it, otherwise you pass. Each card also has an ability that can help you or hurt your opponents. For example, the Go card can let you play another card. You want to be the first player to empty your hand, and then you score the sum of Tribbles that you have played. Other players do not score. Play 5 rounds, and the players with the most points wins. The game has one starter product, or starter box, which is this 4-player box. It contains 4 decks, each themed around a different ability: Go, Discard, Poison, and Rescue, along with a score pad, a Decipher branded pencil, and reference cards, 1 per deck listing the cards in the deck, and 4 reference cards with the 8 Tribble abilities. It also includes a rule sheet. The decks contain different numbers of cards. The Go deck contains 27, Discard contains 30, Poison contains 29, and Rescue contains 26. The distribution of Tribble amounts within each deck feel reasonable for gameplay. It is worth noting that the starter box does not include any Tribbles with the bonus ability, and it does not include any 100,000 Tribble cards. You'll have to get these through booster packs for the Star Trek card game, which we'll cover in a second. But this is a little bit interesting, because one of the ways that you reset to 1 Tribble in the game is after someone plays a 100,000 Tribble card. So players will be passing a little bit more than usual just using the starter decks, rather than being able to hit that peak. Of course, you can always house rule 10,000 to be the peak instead. This would normally be the part where we analyze card rarities and the makeup of starter decks, but that doesn't make much sense for this game. So instead, we'll talk about how to acquire more cards for the Tribbles card game. There are 2 products you can buy to get additional Tribble cards, and one makes a lot more sense than the other. The Klingon starter deck for the Star Trek Customizable Card Game, Tribbles expansion, includes 6 Tribble cards. But these cards are duplicates of cards that are already included in the starter box, so that's not very useful for customizing a deck. You can also obtain Tribble cards from booster packs for the Trouble with Tribbles set. I don't have one to show, but these are 11 card booster packs, and they include cards for the Star Trek Customizable Card Game, and some of these may be Tribble cards, which can then be used in the Tribbles card game. These booster packs are the only way to obtain the bonus ability cards, as we showed before, or the 100,000 Tribble cards. But you wouldn't buy these booster packs only for the Tribbles card game, since you'd get such a limited number of Tribble cards in the packs. Only 18 cards out of the 141 different cards in the set are Tribble cards. In case you were curious, 1 Tribble cards are common, 10 and 100 Tribble cards are uncommon, 1,000 Tribble cards are rare star, which I believe means you can get them in a pack with a second rare, and 10,000 and 100,000 Tribble cards are rare plus, which makes them rarer than normal rare cards, which again is why you would never buy boosters just for the sake of Tribble cards. Also remember that cards in the starter box for the Tribbles card game are not usable in the Star Trek card game. So you're not getting a bunch of rare cards for free, since that box includes 1,000 and 10,000 Tribble cards. So, my thoughts on the game. I actually really like this game, but as a board game rather than trading card game or a customizable card game. I've played it with my mother-in-law, for example, who can get overwhelmed by complicated rules and definitely would not enjoy a proper trading card game. It just feels like a more strategic version of Uno, since every card has an ability you can choose to use, and when you use an ability is often the deciding factor in round, rather than just the luck of the draw. As we've covered, this isn't really a game that you'd collect by itself, but if you're collecting and playing the Star Trek Customizable Card Game, this game is an excellent bonus, and it uses cards you'd be buying anyway. So having some combinations of abilities and Tribble counts, such as the bonus ability, in booster packs, does add some aspect of collectability, which is important for trading card games. But I feel like they should have added 100,000 Tribble cards in the starters. It wouldn't have really affected much around Rarity anyway. After all, they did include 10,000 Tribble cards, which are also Rare Plus. But I guess they just wanted to add extra incentive for players to buy packs and maybe get them into the Star Trek card game as a result. It's also just a nice light game to play between rounds of the extremely heavy Star Trek card game, at least its first edition, and we'll talk about first and second edition in future videos. Finally, I wanted to note that the Continuing Committee, who maintains both editions of the Star Trek card game, also publishes additional cards for the Tribbles card game. And they've also added Troubles to the game, which is a card type in the Star Trek card game, but otherwise in this set has no effect on the Tribbles card game. So if you want to play Tribbles now, you can easily build fully custom decks from their website at trekcc.org. And the release cards now actually include 52 different abilities, which is a drastic increase from the game's basic 8, which makes it much more of a customizable card game where you really would want to build your own deck. But for me, I really enjoy the simplicity of Tribbles as it is. And that's it for our first episode. Thank you for watching. You can find write-ups of this and other card games on my card game website at tcgs.allenv.org. And also check out Tim's Game Den. It's a channel where my friend Tim talks about various card and board games. His most recent video actually covers a redemption card game card that you literally rip up to use, which might sound familiar for those of you who know Magic cards. You can also find a link to his channel in the video description. Until next time.